Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping by. So this is the first card of my Brusho miniseries. It's the first card I actually share with you because I wasn't that happy with the rest, so I had to practice a little bit before I show you that card. But I mean, practice is good, right? So anyway, I'm using Brusho. You may have seen my previous video where I do my little swatches. It's a new medium for me, so I had to learn how to use it. I use also a new stamp set from Sheena Douglas. I believe it's an English brand, and it's one of these stamp sets that comes on it's actually one rubber sheet, and you have to cut the stamps out of it. I've seen people use these things. I mean, it's really good value for money. I was a bit wondering how I was going to attach it onto the acrylic block, and I just put some double-sided tape on the back of it. And I was worried it may leave stains on my block, like, marks on my acrylic blocks, but it didn't. So I was actually really pleased with that, and I managed to put them on and off, on and off. And I don't know, after a few times I had to put more tape again, but so far it's not a problem, so it's actually quite cool, just in case you were thinking about it. The only thing I would say is that you need a good pair of scissors, because the scissors I have were not made for that. And I could feel it. It took me forever to cut it, and it was hurting my hands a bit, so it wasn't that pleasant to, to prepare. So not to be put off to buy that kind of stamps again. I think the best way is to have a good pair of scissors. I also would say, bear in mind that with rubber stamps you can't see through it, so for that design it wasn't too much of a problem, but depending on the kind of stamps you buy, it could be. So just think about what you want to do with your stamps before you go and buy a rubber sheet of stamps. So anyways, they stamp really well. They're as good as any photopolymer stamps I've used. It's just new to me. So in case if it's new to you, that was what I was thinking, what I think about it. So we're going back to the coloring. I've started with a light wash or color, and it's very, very pigmented. So you do need to clean your brush onto a piece of napkin, or press on the reserve, get some water flowing, clean the ink out, and then squeeze the bristles against a piece of paper, a napkin, just to get the color out, because you don't want some purple in the middle of your yellow, particularly if you're at the third layer, because you're not going to take it off. It's very, very pigmented. It is not much harder to use than distressing. It's a bit the same concept, really, except that you just need to dilute it a lot. What I like about the paint, I'm going to call it paint, powder paint, is that it's really pigmented. What I like about distressing is that you can use them for loads of different things, but sometimes they're not very vibrant. And I've been thinking about buying this. I think it's Dr. Phil Martin's ink, the liquid ink that comes in a little bottle, but it's pretty expensive. So I'm not saying that Brusho will give the same result, but I'm actually happy enough with Brusho at the moment that I'm not thinking about buying this liquid ink anymore. So if you are a bit on a budget, that might be something you want to try before you go and spend, I think it's about 70 quid for 12 colors on Amazon. Yeah, think about it, just an idea. So the coloring is pretty simple. So first layer, second layer, third layer. I did use my heat gun on that one. It works fine, it dries well. I've started doing a little bit of shading, and then I don't know exactly, I wasn't probably that pleased with it. I'm recording the voiceover a few days after, so I've done a few cards in between, I can't exactly remember. I think I kind of wanted a bit more of a deeper background, and the lanterns, there's light in it. It feels like more of like a nighttime thing, so I added a bit of color in the background after the shading. So shading is kind of pointless, but I wanted you to see all the steps of the card making. So even if it's sped up, here you go, you can see everything. Once I'm done with the shading, I will do a very light wash of blue. I think it's actually the same blue. I think I use a turquoise. It's not. There's a blue that's called ultramarine, which is more like a royal blue. And that blue that's a turquoise, and sometimes I struggle to see the difference before I actually put it on white paper. But they are actually a bit different in the end. But as I say, I'm still practicing, so I might come back on that comment. So I put my first layer, then a second layer. You need to let it dry. I mean, by the time you go around the card, it kind of has dried anyway. But I'm kind of the layering creates what I would call a sketchy look. It reminds me of when I was young and I was reading Japanese manga and stuff like that. They're all in black and white, obviously, except the cover. But I don't know why it reminds me a bit of that. So tell me how you would call that kind of look, because I mean it's clearer on the photo at the end, but I would call that sketchy looks. Tell me what you think. I'd like to know that. Here, I go back onto my. I put a bit more shading. Here you go. I didn't know what I wanted that day. Shading, not shading. So anyway, I hope you like it. I think it's really vibrant. I love the lantern. I love the oriental look. I always buy these kind of stamps for my husband because he likes everything that's Asian, Chinese, Japanese, and I quite easily go towards these stamp sets, and I'm quite pleased because that one is really good, and it's my first rubber stamp set, as I said, and I'm actually really pleased. I think it stamps really well. So here we go. I trimmed my card. It's dry, obviously. I trimmed my card, cut the edges. I decided to add a bit of highlight, and something that you may be interested in that was absolutely pointless because it's so pigmented that the gel in the roller pen lift up the color. You can barely see the gel. So, you know, something I tried and something I'm sharing with you. Bear that in mind. So I put my greeting inside. It's for friends who just had an extension built to their house, and I will give them that as a card when it's all finished. I hope you find it interesting, this new medium, and I hope you like the card as well, and the rubber sheet stamp set. I think it's quite cool. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.